So the Houston Texans have been making a lot of trades today. So this is like the third trade that I made. First trade they traded Jadeveon Clowney to the Seattle Seahawks. Second trade they traded for Carlos Hyde, and this trade they traded for Laremy Tunsil and Kenny Stills of the Miami Dolphins. And a lot of people they're not really surprised that this happened. I mean, Laremy Tunsil has been linked to the Houston Texans ever since trade rumors came out that he could be traded. So now he's part of the Houston Texans, and that was a big thing that Houston Texans really emphasized. They really wanted another offensive tackle because Houston has had the worst offensive line in football for the last couple of years now, and now that you have a guy like Laremy Tunsil, I mean, the offensive line still isn't going to be that good, but now you have a guy who can protect Deshaun Watson's blind side and a guy like Laremy Tunsil, who is a pretty solid offensive tackle. I think he has potential to be a Pro Bowl caliber offensive tackle. It's just that the fact that he plays on the Miami Dolphins is the only reason he hasn't really reached his full potential of being a Pro Bowler. So now with the Houston Texans, they're getting a guy who can protect Deshaun Watson's blind side. The offensive line still isn't going to be that good, but it's going to be better now that you have a guy like Tunsil there. And the Houston Texans are sending Miami Dolphins two first round picks. So this is a good trade for both sides. I don't really think I don't think Houston really robbed the Miami Dolphins or anything like that because Miami is obviously a team that is rebuilding, they're tanking, and now this helps them now that they have two first round draft picks. So this is a win-win for both teams. Miami is looking to rebuild. They want to go in a different direction. And Kenny Stills is a guy who was one of the best deep threats in the NFL when he was playing for the New Orleans Saints. And during his time with the Miami Dolphins, he still was a great deep threat. But I mean, we never really saw flashes of what he was when he was playing for the New Orleans Saints. So now he's going to Houston, and it's going to be really interesting because I want to see what role is he going to be able to play in this Houston Texans offense during this NFL season because now Houston has Kiki QT, you have Will Fuller, and you have DeAndre Hopkins. So I want to see what role is Kenny Stills going to play for the Houston Texans. I don't think he's going to play slot. Then you got Will Fuller there, but Will Fuller, I think this trade gives the Houston Texans some reliability just in case Will Fuller gets injured again, because I don't think Will Fuller has played all 16 games in the NFL season ever. So, I mean, this gives them a reliable backup wide receiver in case he goes down again, but I don't know. I don't know how they're going to try to utilize him, but I mean, this is a very good trade for both teams, even the Miami Dolphins, even though they didn't get no players in return, they got two first round draft picks. And I think that's pretty good compensation for the players that they gave up. You got Laremy Tunsil away, and you got rid of Kenny Stills. And also, you got rid of Kenny Stills, who had a pretty good contract. I mean, the contract wasn't it's not insanely large, but it was taking up a little bit of cap space. So now you clear out that cap space now. So now the Miami Dolphins, they're going to be in for an all-in rebuild. And the Miami Dolphins, they're still not going to be done dealing out players because they're still Kiko Alonso requested to be traded, so he's probably going to end up getting traded as well. Then you also got Rashard Jones. You got another guy who's on the trading block as well. So I mean, the Miami Dolphins, I think what the Miami Dolphins are trying to do is, I think they're trying to take the same approach that Cleveland went and acquiring their draft picks, because the thing with the Cleveland Browns is the Cleveland Browns didn't try to acquire a lot of draft picks all in one season. The Cleveland Browns, like they were stacking up draft picks years and years ahead. So the Miami Dolphins, they're trying to do what you do on Madden. A good example is if you ever see these people do these Madden 20 realistic rebuilds, they trade all the good players for first round draft picks, and they try to get first round draft picks for the draft that coming year. So I think that's what the Miami Dolphins are trying to do. I think they're trying to get a couple of first round draft picks, and I still don't think they're done. And Kiko Alonso, Rashard Jones, those are definitely guys who are most likely going to end up getting traded. I was surprised that Rashard Jones wasn't in that trade, considering the fact that bro, keep it still. My fault, man. Let me sit down. But I was really surprised the fact that Rashard Jones wasn't included in the trade, considering the fact that the Houston Texans back into their secondary, other than the rookie that they had last year, I can't think of his name right now. I can't think of his name right now, man. Can't think of his name right now, but he was the rookie out of Stanford. I think that's probably the best player they had in their secondary last year. So now you have a very good offense. You got Laremy Tunsil now. He's going to be able to improve that offensive line. Offensive tackle is one of the most important positions on the football. Offensive line still isn't that good, but it's going to be a lot better now that you have Tunsil there to give Deshaun Watson some protection, and also Kenny Stills. Now I don't know what role Kenny Stills is going to play in this Houston Texans offense, but I'm going to be interested in finding out. And like I said, both teams both teams won this trade. The Miami Dolphins got where they wanted. They got 2 first-round picks. They're still not done dealing. They're probably going to try to get a cut. They're probably still going to try to get a first-round pick for Rashad Jones. Don't think they're going to get a first rounder for Kiko Alonso, but I mean the Miami Dolphins. They didn't lose this trade. They didn't get robbed. A lot of people are saying that the Miami Dolphins got robbed and things like that. I don't know how they're getting robbed when this is what they want. They acquired 2 first-round picks. They're trying to build draft picks and they're trying to stack up for next year's draft. So I mean, this Miami Dolphins team, they're in full build rebuild mode, and also they're going to have a lot of money in cap space if they're able to get rid of Rashard Jones. What they got back, Miami Dolphins got 2 first-round draft picks, so I think that's a pretty good trade. And for the Houston Texans, like I said, you got Laremy Tunsil and you got Kenny Stills. Now, I don't know if the Houston Texans requested Kenny Stills, or I don't know if Miami just added him just to clear some cap space or whatever. But I mean, you got him. He's going to be another addition in case Will Fuller goes down again. So, I mean, this is a very good trade for both sides. And the crazy thing is, the Miami Dolphins, they're probably still not done. They're probably going to end up trading away Kiko Alonso as well. They're probably going to end up trading away Rashard Jones. Now I think they're going to try to get a first rounder for Rashard Jones. I don't think that they are, even though he is one of the best safeties in the NFL. I think they'll probably end up getting a second-round pick for him. I think they'll probably end up getting a third-round pick unless it's the Oakland Raiders, because we know how the Oakland Raiders are when it comes to getting players. So we don't know. I don't know what the Oakland Raiders are going to do, but I think Kiko Alonso is most likely going to end up getting traded to the Oakland Raiders. What's up, respect my pups? What's up, everybody? There's a lot of people in here. What's up, man? But yeah, man. So I think both teams won this trade. I don't think nobody got robbed. I think Miami now has like 3 first-round picks now. 2 of those are going to be in next year's NFL draft. They're probably going to try to get one more. So basically what Miami can do is they can go ahead, they can get Tua, and then since they got the first-round pick for Houston is expecting to make the playoffs, so that'll probably be a 20th or maybe late 15th round, late first round pick or middle first round pick. So that pick that they got from Houston will probably be somewhere around either 18th or 24th. So you got a mid round pick there. So that'll probably be a wide receiver there or offensive lineman, depending on how they want to go. I think they'll probably end up going wide receiver, or yeah, I don't really know what they're going to do there, but I think they'll probably go wide receiver if we're being realistic. So I mean, the Miami Dolphins, they're making moves. Probably still not done. Houston has been making a lot of moves. It's like the third trade that they've made today. They traded away Jadeveon Clowney, then they acquired Carlos Hyde, and now they got Kenny Stills, and they got Laremy Tunsil. So I think this is a great trade for both sides. Miami gets what they want. They get draft picks. And the fact that they got 2 first-round draft picks is really, really surprising. But I think Laremy Tunsil, like I said earlier, I think he is a Pro Bowl caliber offensive tackle. I think the Miami Dolphins have kind of held him back since they haven't really gotten that good. And he hasn't really gotten that much. Clowney didn't want to be there because he wanted to win. I don't really know, man. I don't really know. I don't think. Oh yeah, I think it might have been that, but also I don't think Miami was really trying to heavily aggressively trade for Jadeveon Clowney. To be honest, I think they just want the draft picks. So yeah, so they get what they wanted. Miami, from a football standpoint, they're not going to be any good this year. They're probably going to end up going 2-14. I doubt they go 0-16. And they're probably going to have the number 1 overall pick or probably a top 5 pick in next year's draft. So eager to see if they really want Jadav. Here's the thing, right? I don't know what Miami's going to do. The Titans are not winning the AFC South. I'm sorry, MCD Sports 4, but I mean, here's the thing about the Titans. I mean, the Titans have made it to the playoffs the last couple of years and off of a moderate schedule. I mean, the Tennessee Titans haven't had a tough schedule, but their schedule hasn't been easy. Here's what the Tennessee Titans schedule has been the last couple of seasons, right? So they play a lot of bottom feeder teams, and then they end up getting a couple of upsets, probably about one or two upsets, like how they got in one against New England last year. So that's basically what the Tennessee Titans have. But this is probably the toughest schedule that the Titans have had in a very long time. You're facing Philadelphia. Then you got to face Indianapolis. I still think Indianapolis is the best team in that division. They're the most complete team in that division. They don't really have a lot of holes. Probably linebacker, if you want to nitpick, is probably the biggest hole they probably have. But I mean, other than that, I mean, Indianapolis is still going to be good enough to win that division. And a lot of people are overlooking the fact that a lot of people every off season try to trade for Jacoby Brissett. So I mean, I don't think Tennessee is going to end up winning the division. I mean, I still think they are good I still think they're going to compete, but I mean, Houston is making it a little bit of a challenge, but I still like Indianapolis to win that division. But this division is going to be very, very competitive. Like I said, Houston, I still don't like their secondary. And like I said, Houston, if they want to win, they're basically going to have to outscore everybody, and Deshaun Watson's going to have to get some better protection between us. And I don't know, man. Houston is up there. I mean, I never was down in Houston from the first place. I still think Houston can end up winning it. It all depends on how good their secondary looks. Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, it was reports saying that if Laremy Tunsil got traded, then the Miami Dolphins players would revolt. But I mean, here's the thing, man. Nobody wants to be on a team that's already surrendering this early in the season, hasn't even started, and basically that's what's happening. Miami, they're trading all these players. They're trying to rebuild. They're trying to tank, and that's the thing that I never really liked about tanking in football because it's easier to tank in basketball because most basketball players are all about the money and things like that, so they don't really care. They just want to get paid and things like that. But football players, when you have like 53 guys on the roster. These guys don't really want to lose. They really want to win. So, I mean, Miami, especially if they traded away Rashard Jones and Kiko Alonso, I mean, it's not going to be really pretty. So, basically, the Miami Dolphins players, I'd be upset too. It's basically like they're surrendering the season already. But, I mean, this is a good trade for both teams. Both teams got what they wanted. Houston gets a franchise offensive tackle. He should be able to make it to the Pro Bowl. He should make an immediate impact. And I mean, Houston, they should be able to compete for the top of the AFC South. I think it's between them and Indianapolis. I still don't know how I feel about Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee, you got Marcus Mariota. I love me some Marcus Mariota, but I mean, I just don't know, man. Tennessee's schedule hasn't really been that tough the last couple of seasons. It hasn't been easy, but it hasn't been tough. It's been pretty moderate. It's been pretty much in between. They play a couple of bottom feeders, then they get an upset win versus a playoff caliber team. But I mean, this year they're facing a lot of good teams. So I mean, I'm going to have a hard time seeing the Tennessee Titans make it to the playoffs again this year, especially if Marcus Mariota can't stay healthy. Although they got Ryan Tannehill, but I mean, you have to be able to win games through the air. I mean, it's a passing lead now. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting, man. But thank you guys for watching. This is like the third live stream that have had so far. Last live stream, I was going on FSU about how terrible of a football program they are. I mean, it's crazy. The Titans are good enough. MCD Sports 4, man. You guys are literally the third best team in the AFC South. You guys aren't better than Houston, and you guys aren't better than the Indianapolis Colts. So, I mean, you guys are the third best team in your division. That it is what it is, man. I mean, you can't argue with facts, man. I mean, yeah, you guys have a great defense and all, but I mean, look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have a great defense, and they didn't even make it to the playoffs last year because they couldn't do anything on offense, and the offense still looks anemic. And then you got to look at the fact that Marcus Mariota is on what, his fourth or fifth offensive coordinator since he's got drafted. What you mean? You will argue the Houston point. You guys have hired your fourth offensive coordinator, and Marcus Mariota has been there for 5 years, and he's on his fourth offensive coordinator there. He's learned another new system. That's not good for the development of a young quarterback. When you look at some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, when you look at guys like Drew Brees, and when you look at guys like Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, Ben Roethlisberger, what have they had? They've had stability. They're not going through offensive coordinators every year. They're not going through new head coaches. They're not learning new systems every year. Marcus Mariota in 5 years has had four different offensive coordinators. That's not a good recipe and making it to the playoffs. You don't see quarterbacks having success at this level of the NFL going through as many coaching changes as Marcus Mariota has had. So you think that Houston has a good chance of winning this division better than Indianapolis and Houston? And if you think Houston is one of the best teams in this division, then I think you might have to relook the history of things that have happened in the NFL, because you don't really see a lot of teams often making it to the playoffs with, once again, another offensive coordinator. So I mean, it's going to be tough. Houston has taken advantage of a pretty mediocre schedule. Their schedule hasn't been good, but it hasn't been tough neither. It's been pretty modern. You guys are playing what, about 6, 7 teams that went to the playoffs last year. So I mean, it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough. But I mean, you can't argue with history, and history has shown that teams that have had a lot of coaching changes tend to not make the playoffs, and their quarterbacks tend to not be very good neither. So we're about to see, man. But yeah, this is it for this live stream. Like I said, Houston and Miami both won this trade. Miami got what they wanted. They got 2 first-round picks, and Houston got a well-needed offensive tackle. So thank you guys for watching, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. And that's it.